Anyway, super excited for all these chatterbaits to finally hit the market. Again, thank you, Z-Man. But hey, I'm glad the patent's up and let's party. First off, salute to Z-Man for starting this whole big thing. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the chatterbait. And what they started took over the fishing industry at the time. If you weren't throwing a bladed jig like Brett Height, man, you were missing out on a big bite and definitely some tournament wins. But they had a patent on their chatterbait, which obviously nobody could produce anything similar, so they had a monopoly on the industry. But there was all these chatterbaits from overseas, you know, over in Japan. Well, the market's about to be flooded with them, and I'm going to break down all the new chatterbaits coming through to the States through November, because November it starts to get cold. It's chatter season. Your teeth might be chattering. I'm going to run through a Kitech chatterbait, Megabass chatterbait, Amagatsu chatterbait, an old school D&M chatterbait, and of course we're going to go through the original, the Z-Man chatterbait, and of course another salute to the evergreen jackhammer. That's always going to have a special place in our tackle box. But just like any other bait, we need a little variety, and all these chatterbaits offer a little something different. But today we're going to go with my favorite one, the OSP metal blade jig. This is the grandson of the Northland. Hit that like and subscribe, and let's go.
I'm a fishing man out on the lake. I got a boat full of tackle and a pole that'll never break. Well, over on the lake in a shady little nook sat a sweet little thing trying to bait her hook. The way she looked in her bathing tan, I almost forgot I was a fishing man. But I'm a fishing man out on the lake. All you need is a line and a pole that'll never break.
The OSP metal blade jig. Let's look at it. Let's check it out. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is how the blade is cut right here. And it's also cut down below. So what this does on that bottom cut is a lot of these chatterbaits, when they're rocking back and forth, they'll rock really far, you know. So this keeps it in a straight line. Coming through, so you have a better hookup ratio, because your hook's not over here when the fish bites. It's always kind of sitting up. Of course, it has a cool looking eye on it, and it also has a really light weed guard there if it's going to help at all. Nice big flat back of the head here with also the weight labeled on it, and the skirt's like molded in to the jig. So that's on there for life. And it's also cool. It's got this bait keeper, and then it has this whole bait keeper which you can stick a toothpick through or something. But I was running this on a bunch of different trailers. I'm a big fan of the Depths Death Adder 5-inch trailer for most of my chatterbaits, but this one just didn't seem to handle it as well. And same with, I went with the Do Live stick, and I didn't really care for it, so I had to go back to the, you know, the OG standard here, the Yamamoto Zaco. And this paired up, and it was just a great combo. Bam, there's your setup. There we go. ripping it out of that grass. This OSP bladed jig thumps. It ain't big, but we'll take it. Another thing about this chatterbait, it thumped so hard. It had the loudest sound out of any of the chatterbaits that I just mentioned and went through. And man, the pike were loving this. I lost like 3 of these to pike, which sucked, but I managed to catch some bass on it too. There we go. Windy bank. Couple reels, he smoked it. It's a good one. Now when you're fishing this bait, it's like you want it to fall down into the weeds and then rip it out. Instead of just always steady reeling, let it fall down into the weeds a few times on your retrieve back to the boat and rip it out, and see if that produces more bites than just slowly reeling it and ticking it across the top. Sometimes you want it to get stuck down in those weeds and rip it out for that reaction bite. And this bait will come up clean with no weeds on it, and hopefully a big old bass will smack it. But man, this is my favorite one out of the bunch. This is the one I wanted to start with. Of course, I'm throwing it on that 7.4 Daiwa to Tula chatterbait rod, and I'm going with 20-pound fluoro. There we go. Decent one. Whoops. Actually pretty small.